Buchman. Bob is the Senior Project Manager at ABD Group. He's a career coach and a mentor. I first met Bob a few years ago at one of the networking meetings, been a 40-plus meeting. And he's spoken there several times. He's even spoken here in the past with his world-famous spiderweb networking. And tonight he's going to be presenting Can Do or Can't Do, How Your Attitude is Your Key to Success. Please help me welcome Bob Buchman.
Thanks, Tom. You know, it's rather fortuitous that Tom put both Sue and myself on the same program. I've known Sue for, oh gosh, about 3.5 years now. And what I'm going to talk about tonight, having a can-do attitude as you go through your job search. I mean, you know, she's living proof that it works. A little bit about myself to start with. Like Tom said, I'm Robert Buchman. I'm the likable engineer. About 3 years ago, I sat in those very same seats that you're sitting in, and did it back in 2004 as well. And as I was going through my job transition both times, I too learned how to become a networker. I'm a recovering introvert. And I did it by becoming a can-do person. And now, besides working full-time, I work with 40-plus of southeastern Wisconsin, and I teach the Crossroads class over at Hales Corners once in a while, and I'm involved in their ministry. So what I'm going to tell you about tonight doesn't really come from, you know, an HR person or a recruiter. It comes from just an average Joe that has taken the time to figure out how to go through this process and find a job. You know, about a year ago, I got asked to do a presentation on PMA, positive mental attitude in the job search process, for a 40-plus workshop. And as I reflected on what I really needed to talk about, and in conversation with, you know, multiple job seekers, having that positive mental attitude as you go through that job search process is very, very important. I'll kid you not. But for a lot of job seekers, some of those that have been out of work for, you know, 12 months, 18 months, sometimes 3 years, PMA is sometimes very difficult. And so I settled on thinking about really not a positive mental attitude, but really its first cousin, having a can-do attitude. And what I call it is can-do or can-don't. I heard something recently that said employers hire attitude. They don't hire skills, they hire attitude. Skills they can teach, attitude they can't. That comes from here and here. I'll give you a story that sort of illustrates what I mean by a can-do attitude. Take a 7-year-old boy and a 47-year-old man and put them in front of a tree and say, now go climb that tree. That 7-year-old boy will run at that tree and go at it as fast as he can. That 47-year-old man will probably step back and say, geez, should I really do that? I might fall out of the tree and break something. I might rip my clothes. The neighbors will see me. So why the difference? It's because of those tapes that play in our head all the time. And the preconceived notion that the older you get, the more you think that you're not going to make it. Now take that 47-year-old guy and put him outside, or a woman, and put them outside a networking event like a Fantastic Times or a Chamber of Commerce meeting and say, now go in there and go meet 10 new people. Invariably, you're going to hear things like, man, I don't know anybody in there. I don't know what to say. I can't do that. Again, it's those tapes that play in our heads all the time. So if you are a job seeker, and this is really not a job seeking skill, this is really, it's a life skill. You need to become a can-do person, not a can-don't. Attitude is the way we look at things. It is your mental focus on the world. You know, there's a famous quote from Henry Ford that said, if you think you can, you are correct. If you think you can't, you are also correct. It is all about your attitude. You know, a friend of mine, Jeff Percival, talks about attitude. And he says there's only two things in life that you can control. What's up here, your thoughts, and what you do, your thoughts and your actions. You can't control anything else. You can't control your spouse. You can't control your kids. You can't control what happens at work. You can only control what happens up here and what you do with these. So, you can become that can-do person by changing what you think and what you do. And it really is the power of self-talk. You know, psychologists tell us that somewhere between 30 and 60,000 thoughts go through our mind each and every day. So we are always in a mental conversation with ourselves. In fact, some of you are probably in a mental conversation with yourself right now as you're sitting here listening to me. That's okay. They also tell us that those thoughts tend to repeat themselves at a rate of somewhere between 60 and 75% every day. So we're constantly saying to ourselves, I can do this, or I can't do this, I can't do that. You know, your attitude is something that you put on every morning. It's like a shirt that you put on and go out the door. How many people here hit the snooze button when the alarm goes off in the morning? Do you know the snooze button was invented for the can't-do people in this world? I can't get out of bed. I'm so tired, etc., etc. You know the drill. The can-do person, the alarm goes off, or they even get up before the alarm goes off, and their feet hit the floor. They look in the mirror and say, today is going to be a great day. I'm going to get through this day, etc., etc., etc. So it is, as I said, it's that attitude that you put on in the morning. So how many people here, again, how many people here hit the snooze button when they get up in the morning? You are candidates for can't do. Trust me. The more you can do in a situation, the more success that you're going to have. And here's a quote that I love. Everybody remembers the movie The Empire Strikes Back, the Star Wars movie? There's a quote in there. Luke Skywalker is in the process of trying to, I think they're getting ready to try to levitate some spaceships out of a swamp or something like that. And Yoda says, you got to do this. And Luke says, I'll try. And Yoda turns to Luke and says, do or do not. There is no try. And folks, that's the way it is. You either do it or you don't do it. There is no try. You know, my doctor tells me that I need to exercise more. So what does that mean for me to try to exercise? Does that mean I get on the exercise bike and I sit there? Hey, I tried, you know, I just didn't do. Likewise, in that networking event, does that mean you pull up to the door and sit in your car and then leave? You tried. No, you didn't. You didn't do. So do or do not. There is no such thing as try. What effect does that can-do attitude have on your personality? Well, as I said before, in many cases, it might get you hired. It changes your personality. That person with that can-do attitude can convert an ordinary personality into something extraordinary, something that people are more receptive to. People are naturally drawn to that can-do person. Sit there, I mean, listen to Sue's story and all the things that she did as she went through the process of becoming what she is today. And I'll be honest, I was there when she made that decision to go from do I need to become a purchasing manager, or do I need to become this ministry person? And she struggled with that, believe me. But it's all about having that can-do attitude. That can-do attitude can do a couple things. It can trigger enthusiasm. It enhances your creativity. And as I said before, that can-do person gets hired. The can-don't person, they get passed over. And it's up to you. You choose each and every day whether you're a can-do person or a can-don't person. You choose by your self-talk, by your thoughts. You script your move from being, I can't do this, to I can do this. I encourage you to write out a plan, put it on paper, practice it, write it many, many times, because it then forces it to become part of the mental process that you go through each and every day. You need to practice it until it becomes automatic. Now, one of the things I did during my first transition, I joined Toastmasters because I'm an engineer, a quiet kind of guy. Never guessed that now, at least that's what my wife says. But it got me out of my shell, got me to get out of my comfort zone, got me to get up and talk to people all the time, which, oh, by the way, is what you need to do when you're in the job search mode. So that's that thought process. That's what you need to do to become a can-do kind of a person. So how are some of the things that you can do, what are some of the things you can do to become that can-do kind of a person? I did some research and I found 7 things that you can do. First one is to use what they call the flip side technique. Look at the humorous side of a difficult situation. Use laughter as therapy. Do you know that laughter and smiling releases endorphins that make you different? It changes the chemical balance. It changes you from an unhappy person to a happy person. So if you're in a situation where you feel not so good, you feel down, just start laughing at nothing. Exactly. Just start laughing. And I don't mean a ha 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 ha. I mean a ha 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 ha. Do that and you'll feel different. Trust me. Last time I did this presentation, I made 60 people get up and practice laughing. I won't do that to you tonight. Play your winners. You know, we all go through life with positives and negatives. Play those winners that you have. You know, Jack Canfield in his book, The Success Principles, teaches a wonderful technique to figure out your winners, to figure out where your successes are. What he teaches is take your life, write down the 100 greatest successes that you've had in your life. Always make that list 100 lines long. What he teaches is to take your life and divide it into thirds. And from each third of your life, think about the things that you did where you were successful. And they don't have to be momentous things. They can be things that is as simple as, you know, I learned to ride a bike. I learned how to color and stay in the lines. I graduated from high school, grade school. I raised some kids. I went and got a college degree. I found 3 different jobs at 3 different times. But create that success log of 100 things that you did in your life and carry it with you. And when you feel like, God, I can't get through today, I'm not getting the interviews that I need, I just can't do this, pull out your success log and remind yourself that you are a success. You know, you're looking for that 101st success. You're looking for that new job. but use that as a tool to remind yourself that you've done 100 great things in your life and value all of those things that you did. Little segue into, you know, who Jack Canfield is. I mean, everybody, just about everybody knows that Jack Canfield co-wrote the, you know, Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And I mean, you go in any bookstore and there's just a rack of, you know, all of those for different things. But not everybody realizes that his first book, he had to take to 42 different publishers before the 42nd publisher said yes. So there's another example of a can-do kind of a person. I mean, he could have stopped at 35 or 40 or even 41, and you know, we wouldn't be blessed with all of those stories that he puts in those books. So look at that as, you know, an example of somebody that had a can-do attitude. And he talks about that quite often in presentations that he gives and books that he's written. Keep your losers from pushing your winners into the background. Talk about your winners. Not only to yourself, but all the people that you talk to. Take those winners and craft them into car stories as you go out and use them in your job search. Car story, for those that aren't familiar with that, that's challenge, action, and result. It's a technique we teach in job search to try to figure out how you can practice how you can craft some of the things that you did into those, you know, what was the challenge, what was the action, what was the result. Excellent things to use in interviews. But that's a whole nother topic. Simplify your life. You know, it's easier to be a can-do person when there's less to do. You know, if you're in the job search process right now, I mean, there's all kinds of tools that you can use, LinkedIn and Twitter and networking, and you know, you can really be overwhelmed by the stuff that's written out there and the things that you can do. But if you partake in all of these choices, sometimes you end up with decision paralysis. What do I try today? And we, you know, we're like a bird. We jump from one to the next to the next. And you know, you got to have some consistency. So pick some of the things that you think are going to work, simplify those things, and use them. You know, cut back on some of your commitments. You know, find that better balance between work and life and personal life as you go through the searching for a job. You know, above all, insulate yourself from the negative. You know, sometimes, you know, there are always tough situations. There's always sometimes negative situations. There's negative people in our life, trust me. Try to distance yourself from those kinds of things, because they can be, you know, they can be attitude suckers. They can take it away, and it's really easy to, you know, meet up with somebody like that, and you start yourself with a pity party, and then you feel like crap. So try to stay away from those kinds of things. But we really do need to learn to live with some of those negative no-win situations by using some techniques to insulate. And a couple of those techniques are things like stay busy, keep active. That idle mind dwells on the negative. You know, I heard something last month that says that most job seekers today live in a haunted house. They live in the haunted house that's haunted by themselves. It's because they can't get out the door. They sit in front of the computer. They sit in front of the TV. They don't get out and do the networking that you really need to do to find a job. Their house is haunted by them. So stay busy, stay active. You know, quite frankly, the most successful job seekers are those that go at it 30 to 40 hours a week, because that's what you need to do to become successful. It is a job. You know, live one day at a time. You got to live in the moment. Not in the past. You can't change that. It's gone. Certainly not in the future, because you can't change it till you get there. You have to live in the present. And, you know, I'll use this trite statement that you probably have heard. You know, the reason that we call it the present, because it's the gift of the here and now. It's what's going on right now. Not what you did yesterday or forgot to do yesterday. Not all the things that you need to do tomorrow. It's what are you doing right now? Another technique I learned from Jeff Percival. Schedule your worry time. Seriously. You know, we could spend our lives worrying about, geez, am I going to get another job? Or, you know, am I going to keep my house? You know, thousands of things. But Jeff teaches, you know, take 20 minutes a week, set a timer, sit down someplace quiet, and worry about the things that you need to worry about. When the timer goes off, you're done till next Tuesday at 8 a.m. for your next 20 minutes of worry time. And then get on with being that can-do person that's going to find themselves a job. As I said, you know, play your winners. Go back to that success log that we discussed, that I discussed before. Exercise. Use humor, like we talked about before. Do something for someone else. Spend time with a friend. And if it really gets bad, think it out, talk it out, work it out, pray it out. Don't underestimate the power of prayer to get through a tough day, a tough week, you know, a tough time of no interviews. I can remember in my job search, there were a couple of times where I'd sit down in the afternoon and it's like, God, I can't do this anymore. You know, this is really draining on me. And that feeling lasted for about 10 minutes. And then I got back on the horse and went back to work. Oh, by the way, I found my job. I was out of work from Election Day in 2008 until April of 2009. And I found an engineering job here in Wisconsin as the economy was spiraling down, and, you know, people were getting laid off in droves. And, you know, through effective networking and doing all these things, I found myself a job. So, you know, if I can do it, anybody can. You want to make that can-do attitude stronger? Give it away. Obviously, we all know people that are can't-do kind of people. Share your can-do attitude with them. The best way to learn something is to have to go to teach it to someone else. So become the teacher of your can-do attitude to somebody else. Give it away. Go out and visit friends who might have that can't-do attitude. Demonstrate your can-do attitude to everybody that you have contact with every day. You need to leave, you know, from the moment you leave the house until you come back home, you've got to be that can-do person that can find that job. You have to live it, you have to show it, you have to share it all the time in every human interaction that you have. And that really is the key to success. I mean, look at some of the successful people that are out there today and what they've done in their lives and how they have been that you know, demonstrated their can-do abilities. You know, people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Mother Teresa and all those people. They didn't take no for an answer, and they didn't say no to themselves. That's what you need to become if you want to get there. You know, transmit that can-do attitude in conversations that you have over the phone. It needs to be part of every human interaction that you have. everything that you do. You're always, as a job seeker, you are always on stage, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unless, except when you're home. You have to, you have to live that part. You have to be that person. Because then you will be farther ahead than those can't-do persons that, haven't put that spark into themselves to be that can-do person. That's the most important thing that you can become. And it's all about appearance and, dressing sharply, being conscious of your posture. It's how you walk, it's how you talk, it's how you greet people. It all speaks volumes about your ability to be that can-do person that you really need to become if you want to be successful. You need to clarify your life's mission. Who here has a mission statement, a written mission statement? Okay, let me ask you a question. If you got in a car without a steering wheel, how would you get to where you were going? How many people here have been a sailor, have been on sailed a boat? How far do you get with a boat that has no rudder? Not very far. You're certainly not going to get from here to there. Likewise, unless you have a mission or a purpose statement that you have worked on and put together, you might get there, but you'll get there much faster and much better if you know exactly where you want to go and what you want to do. Tom and I were talking about this before class, before the presentation. I talk to job seekers all the time, and one of the questions that I always ask them is, what do you want to do when you grow up? And most of them can't tell you what they want to become or do, or how do you become what you want to do unless you know what it is that you want to do? You're just fishing in the dark. Yes, you can become a can-do person, but you can become a more powerful can-do person if you've got a mission statement. So I urge you to create some kind of personal mission statement, one that's got a clear focus to provide a personal perspective and decrease uncertainty. The can-do person knows why he is, because he's taken the time to know his purpose. Notice I said why, not where or what he is, but why. Life is not about where or what. It's about why we're here. So if you have a mission in life, as I said, it's much easier to know where you're going. And trust me, sitting down and writing out a mission statement or taking the time to create one is not, it's not something that you're going to finish in an afternoon. It's going to take sometimes a couple of days, sometimes a couple of weeks to refine it, to come up with something that is very succinct, that is your purpose statement, your mission statement. And I like the stuff that Stephen Covey in his 7 Habits teaches about how to create a mission statement. But there's just a ton of books out there that talks about how to create and what you need to think about and how to craft a good mission statement. I'd have to say it took me probably about 2 weeks to refine mine and create a mission statement for me that I live every day, both in the work that I do during the day and the stuff that I do here with the different job seeker groups. I'm going to close with a story, but before I do that, I'm going to hit you with a little commercial. As I said, I'm involved in 40 Plus of southeastern Wisconsin, and we have a workshop coming up December the 10th from 8:30 in the morning till noon. at St. Dominic's Parish. We've got 3 speakers coming in. I've got some flyers on the speakers table over there if you're interested. So I'd suggest that you, if you have the time, come. The last 2 workshops, we've had 60-some people come to listen to our speakers. It's always very good. There's a lot of opportunities to network with job seekers and people that that are on our board that are used to be job seekers but are now gainfully employed. So I would, if you're available, I would suggest that you come. Like I said, I'd like to close with a story. And I got this off the internet just recently. High in the Himalayan mountains, there lived this wise old man. And periodically, he'd come down to the nearest village to entertain the villagers with his special skills. And one of his skills was he was a bit of a psychic. He could tell what people had in their pockets or had in their minds or in boxes that they were carrying. So he was kind of a special sort of gentleman. And in this one village, there were a couple of boys that decided they were going to play a joke on this wise old man and try to discredit his special abilities. One little boy came up with the idea that he was going to capture a bird and hide it in his hands. He knew, of course, that the wise old man would know that the object in his hand was a bird, but he devised a plan. Knowing that the old man would correctly state the object in his hand was a bird, the boy would ask the old man if it was dead or alive. If the old man said the bird was alive, the boy would crush it in his hands, so when he opened up his hands, the bird would be dead. But if the wise old man had said the bird's dead, he'd open up his hands and let the bird fly away. So no matter what the old man said, the boy would prove the old man to be a fraud. So the following week, the wise old man came to the village, and the boy quickly caught a bird and cupped it out of sight in his hands, walked up to the wise old man and said, old man, what is it that I hold in my hands?" The wise old man said, "Why, son, you have a bird in your hands." And of course he was right. And the little boy said, "Old man, so tell me, is the bird alive or is it dead?" The wise old man looked at the boy for just a second, thought for a moment, and said, "The bird is as you choose it to be. So, can do or can don't, it is as you choose it to be." Thank you. Any questions? You got all this stuff, right?